Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Windy City Breeze coming you guys way. Pat the Designer back at it again. Wanted to get this out before I hit the road and go back home, because when I get back home, I am chilling with my kids. I ain't seen them in 5 days. Chilling with my wife. I ain't seen her in 5 days. I'm not doing content. So hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. My takeaways from the game. And the game was, listen, overall it was bad, right? Like, there's nothing that you can sit there and say was good from the game. The offense looked abysmal for most of the game. The defense was a joke, and it just has been a joke. And then special teams has, kind of just been what it is at this point. Like, it was a very bottom feeder game. But I think that there are still some good things that you can take away from it. And, when I looked at rewatching the game early this morning, not even last night, early this morning on the TV, and not just watching it at the game, I should say. I think with the first team, you kind of saw what you needed to see. Ben talked about getting more reps in for the first team offense, and maybe that was the case, because that offensive line definitely looked a heck of a lot better than it did in the joint practice. The joint practice, the offensive line got dismantled, and so I think you wanted to see them be able to go out there and hold their own. And I think they did that for the most part, even without Joe Thuney out there, especially in the running game. You saw Roschon Johnson be able to get some really big plays there early on, and then you also saw Caleb be able to move the ball down into the red zone. Now, were they elite in the red zone? No, which is something they were actually really good at in the joint practice. And so, you saw some things flip there. You saw some things get better, some things get worse. But, I think for the most part, you wanted to see this offense go through the operation and go out there and see your guys not get their butts kicked. Now, I can't say that for everybody. I mean, Braxton Jones did himself no favors. Theo Benedette looked almost just as bad. Karan Amagaji shouldn't be on a football field. And Jedrick Wills is playing right tackle again, and so he's kind of getting acclimated to that. I've said this a couple of times already, like with cut down day being a little bit earlier this time, and Ben talked about how, this coming Monday is going to be very important for a lot of things. I mean, like, you're having a real conversation here about cutting both Jedrick Wills and Karan Amagaji if you're able to get Ozzie Trapillo back in any amount of time. I mean, you do not have a good tackle option on this team right now. You have some guys that maybe you can navigate with, but even then, right, like they're getting beat so bad that they're getting penalties, right? Braxton Jones, that holding penalty, and you saw on the sideline, Ben Johnson literally just went up to him and just like disgusted, like, what are you doing? You're holding us back. And so they definitely need some I don't even know what magic, because you don't have that talent. It's something you didn't address. You don't have that talent on your roster right now, outside of the potential of Ozzie Trapillo returning and being the caliber of player that he was. Some other things offensively that did stand out, though. I give Roschon Johnson credit for fighting for that RB3 spot. Of course, you saw the things from Jade Walker. I think at this point, Jade's just Jade. Like, everybody was losing their minds. They were like, look at this kid. He's I think we saw that last season. I'm not going to say I'm not impressed by it, but I wasn't shocked by what we saw from Jade yesterday. He's a big play guy. He's got the speed. His footwork off of the line is impeccable. And he does a great job getting out there and being able to bring the football in. Like, that is kind of the guy that I expect him to be. And so I wasn't I was very excited to see the play, but I wasn't as stunned as a lot of people. Somebody who did shock me, and you've kind of seen this throughout camp, but now seeing it in a real game situation, it felt good to see. Sam Roush is proving that he is more than just a blocking tight end that was taken in the 4th round or 5th round. I can't remember right now. I still haven't had my coffee. But Sam Roush is proving that he is somebody who you can go out there and get the job done with, especially when you're having to run the 13 personnel like the Bears are having to run. I mean, you know that left tackle is going to be an issue. And so you're going to be in 12 and 13 personnel to help out whoever's over at that left tackle position. That means you need pass catchers. That means you need guys that can chip and that can block straight up as well to help Braxton out, but that can chip, get to the outside, and be able to make a catch. And you saw that with Sam Roush yesterday. Like, he continues to prove he's done this all throughout throughout camp, but he's continuing to prove that, hey, like if you throw me this ball, I'm more than just a body that can blow things up. I can make the big plays. And I think that's something that Ben Johnson's really going to be able to benefit from. Defensively, it looked abysmal. There's no good way to say it. Defensively, it looked absolute squalor. And you know what? Like the one thing that I continue to say, the run defense looked stout. And you know, for when the ones were in there, the red zone defense looked okay. I think that those are going to be two things that the Bears are going to have to hang their hats on this season, right? The speed and the versatility that they have allows them to be able to kind of take advantage in those moments, right? Like the defensive line does a good job filling its gaps, and then the linebackers come in and they're able to use their speed to kind of take over on that spot, right? Like they do a good job of run stuffing, especially when you have your best players in the game. And so I think that that's going to be something they're actually good at. I wouldn't be surprised if the red zone defense ends up being decent this season because of some of those same reasons, right? Like the part that's going to be difficult to watch all year, and I just don't think there's an answer for it, because I think, look, call it what you want. Ryan Poles built it the wrong way. He built the defense the wrong way. He just did. Right? Like we can see it early on. We can sit here and pretend like it's not going to, these games don't matter, and so it's going to be different when the real game scenario, maybe it will be different. But I'll be the one that is wrong on that, right? Like to me, when I see DBs out there with no defensive line pressure, fighting for their lives, I'm not stunned. You didn't address the defensive line. You didn't address it with guys that can get pressure. You didn't address it with guys that can force the quarterback into tough scenarios. And guess what we watched last night? Quarterbacks that stood back into the pocket confidently. You gave up a 3rd and 14 that you blitzed on. And the quarterback never worried about his shoelaces getting touched. When you have a drive with the first team offense first team defense versus the second team offense, and you give up a 3rd and 14 and a 3rd and 10, you got problems. By the way, all passing. Every one of them. Like if they had decided to run the ball in a 3rd and long scenario, the Bears might have gotten off the field. But anytime that you want to and you need to pass the football, you can on this Bears team. And that's a problem. And it's not just, our DBs are hurt. That's what happens when you don't have frontline pressure. Now, do I think we have some guys there? It feels like what we're doing with the defense, not to say I don't, I do think that these guys are going to be contributors to the team, but it feels like what we're doing with the defensive line right now is what we used to do with wide receivers. There were guys that were solid, that we were heralding as, hey, if this guy hits, he's going to be a difference maker. And realistically, you don't have difference makers on your team. You've got the glue guys, I think. I look at Jordan Vandenberg with how consistent his pass rush is and how strong he is, how violent he is early on. And I say, hey, that's going to cause centers some difficulty. That is going to be something that you can rely on, that he's going to be able to go out there if you put him out there with the number one guys, and he can dent the pocket for you. He's gonna be somebody who you can count on consistently to do his job well. I don't think that Jordan Vandenberg is all of a sudden gonna be elite. I would love to be, I would love to see it. But even with what we're seeing now, we're still seeing it versus 2s and 3s in these game scenarios. What's he going to look like versus the 1s? And he has looked good versus 1s. He looked good in the joint practice versus the Bengals 1s. And he's gotten opportunities versus the 1s. But in these game scenarios where we're seeing him thrash guys, it's because he's going up against second-line centers, third-line centers. Same with James Lynch. And it feels like when we would be like, Darnell Mooney is elite. And then you see Darnell Mooney on another team and you're like, hey, he's probably the 4th best wide receiver on this team. Like, I see the talent that these guys have. And I think no matter what, right? Like undrafted guys, being able to take guys who are developmental pieces and see that. And Jordan Vandenberg, I mean, like, there were people that thought Jordan Vandenberg was going to get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. Like, I am stunned that he fell to us where he did. He's a talented player. Don't get me wrong. But I look at this defense and I go, you don't have elite difference makers. And you know what? That's why it looks exactly the way it looks. That's why it looks like everybody is fighting for their lives out there to get a pass stop. So I think that's something we're going to deal with all season. One player on defense that did stand out outside of the obvious guys, right? Jordan Vandenberg, James Lynch, like those are the guys that I've kind of looked at and I've been like, okay, like you got something there on the defensive line for rotational pieces that are going to help you. Vandenberg may end up being one of the starters by the end of the year with some of the things that he's shown me. But, and this is a tough name to throw out there, but J-Mac kind of changed my mind on it when we were talking last night after the game. Dante Manning. And he put it in. I know it's tough, right? Because he gave up the 14 points, but he also had multiple pass breakups. And J-Mac kind of said, look, Pat, you're not looking for him to be Jalen Johnson. You're looking for him to be a solid piece that you can develop. And as a young kid coming off the street, he's been able to go out there and make plays for you. That's something that you can kind of tuck in your back pocket and say, look, maybe we don't want him out there in these big scenarios where he's got to go up against Jamar Chase or whatever it is, but we do like him in a rotational spot. We like him as somebody that can come in and give guys a breather, and that's something that you can kind of hang your hat on. And he had a special teams tackle yesterday as well. So he stood out to me on paper for good and bad, right? For good and bad. They attacked him, and he was out of position in some ways, but you continue to say his name in practice. You continue to see him make plays and pass breakups. Like, that's a guy that you feel like, okay, a name on the roster that it's okay to have versus a guy that you want out there every snap. And maybe you could develop him into a guy that you want out there every snap. But, overall, long way to go for this team. And you would have hoped to see a little bit more fight from them. I thought they showed more fight in the joint practice than they did in the preseason game. But you would have hoped to see a little bit more fight than we did versus the Bengals yesterday. But hopefully this is just the preseason woes, and by the time the ball hits the ground for real in the regular season, we're ready to go. Hey, man, let me know how you guys feel down in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you guys as well. It is your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. I'm about to hit the road and head back to the Shy, man. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.